When we were kids, most of us didn't actually learn facts about animals. We learned stories. Stories that sounded true. Stories that got repeated so many times nobody bothered to question them. But today, we're separating fact from fiction. And we're starting with an animal people think they know better than almost any other. Dogs. You've probably heard this your entire life. To find a dog's age, just multiply it by 7. Sounds simple. There's only one problem. It's completely wrong. Dogs don't age at a constant rate. They develop incredibly fast during their early years, and then that pace changes as they get older. So a 1-year-old dog isn't really the equivalent of a 7-year-old child. Turns out we've been playing a guessing game disguised as math, and that's not the only thing we've misunderstood about dogs. When a dog looks guilty after making a mess, most people assume it knows exactly what it did wrong. But that's another myth. That sad face usually isn't guilt. Dogs are experts at reading human emotions. They notice your tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. So they're not thinking, "I've committed a terrible crime." They're thinking, "The atmosphere feels weird right now. Maybe I should stay quiet." That famous guilty look? It's not a confession. It's damage control. And here's one more. People often say that if a dog is wagging its tail, it must be happy. Not necessarily. Tail wagging can mean excitement, stress, uncertainty, alertness, or even nervousness. So don't automatically assume a wagging tail means, "Hey buddy." Sometimes it means, "I'm still deciding how I feel about this." Next up, cows. You've probably been told that cows just produce milk all the time, as if they're natural milk machines that never stop. But that's not how it works. Cows produce milk for one reason: to feed their calves after giving birth. Milk production is part of a biological cycle. In nature, the purpose of milk isn't to feed humans. It's to help a mother raise her young. So despite what many people assume, cows aren't endless fountains of milk. Now let's talk about another animal people love to overestimate: squirrels. You've probably heard that squirrels remember every nut they bury, as if they have perfect memories and carefully organized storage systems. But that's a myth. Squirrels forget a huge percentage of the food they hide. In fact, they often rely on searching and random digging to find it again. So no, they're not tiny strategic masterminds. They're actually a little chaotic and surprisingly forgetful. But here's the funny part. Those forgotten nuts don't just disappear. Many of them eventually grow into new trees, which means squirrels aren't just forgetful, they're accidental gardeners. And the myths don't stop there. Raccoons. You've probably seen videos of raccoons dipping food into water before eating it. Most people call this washing, but that's not what's happening. Raccoons aren't cleaning their food. Water makes their highly sensitive paws even more sensitive. They're using touch to gather information. So instead of washing their meals, they're basically running a scientific investigation. Tiny masked researchers. Speaking of misunderstood animals, let's talk about goldfish. For years, people claimed goldfish have a memory span of only 3 seconds. That's completely false. Goldfish can remember things for months. They can recognize patterns, learn routines, and even distinguish between different people. So they're not forgetful at all. They've just been underestimated. Now for one of the most famous animal myths ever: chameleons. Most people believe chameleons change color to blend into their surroundings and become invisible. Sounds cool, but it's mostly fiction. Chameleons change color primarily to communicate. Stress, temperature, dominance, and mating signals can all influence their colors. So when a chameleon changes color, it's usually not hiding, it's talking. Now let's move on to deer. Most people think deer are completely harmless plant eaters, but nature is rarely that simple. Yes, deer are primarily herbivores. However, in rare situations, they may eat small animals or feed on carcasses left behind by predators, which means the idea of a perfectly pure herbivore isn't always as clear-cut as people think. Now things get a little more dangerous. Hippos. At first glance, they look slow, calm, and sometimes even funny. Huge mistake. Hippos are among the most aggressive and territorial animals on Earth. They can move much faster than most people expect, and they'll attack if they feel threatened. And those massive jaws aren't just for show. They're powerful weapons designed for survival. That peaceful-looking giant, it's actually one of Africa's most dangerous animals. And finally, beavers. Cartoons often show beavers using their tails like construction tools to build dams. But that's another myth. Their tails aren't hammers. Beavers use them for balance, swimming, communication, and storing fat. They're incredible engineers, just not in the way cartoons taught us. The truth is, a lot of what we think we know about animals comes from stories that were never questioned. But when we look a little closer, nature turns out to be far stranger, smarter, and more complicated than we imagined. And this is only part 2. Because in the next video, we're going even deeper into the animal myths that fooled millions of people. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.